Good morning. This is Parashat Tetzave, so Friday before Shabbat, and I want to talk about certain aspects of the parasha. But first, I want to talk about men and women. If you wonder why, for example, this Women's Rights Council from the UN is completely antisemitic, like the whole UN, today I learned that there is a Palestinian Rights Council. I learned it because Ecuador now pulled out of it, because it's the translation of Palestinian Rights Council is a terrorist rights council. If you think terrorists have rights, then you are part of the problem. But the UN Women's Council is, of course, a problem because it's not about women's rights. It's about rapists' rights. Not only against Israeli women, by the way. But it comes from this left-wing nonsense called feminist antisemitic. There's anti-Semitic feminism or feminist antisemitism. Yeah, so, and they claim that it's the Jews' fault that there's a male God. And there's also a German pseudo-philosopher who's completely anti-Semitic, and he's against monotheism, and he also gives lectures for decades, by the way, already. I heard him once in Heidelberg at the university. He was invited by the University of Heidelberg to speak in a huge hall. And I went there with other people, fellow students who also studied Jewish studies and were not Jewish. We were speechless, all of us. It was purely anti-Semitism. I forgot his name. Don't listen to him. But feminist anti-Semitism claim first it's the Jews' fault that there is a male God. All these people have no clue about Judaism. Of course, they think Judaism is Christianity minus Jesus. No, Judaism is something completely different. Christianity has also in the whole ideology, in the stories, nothing to do with Judaism, also not Islam. Their idea of supersession is their idea, but there is no connection between Christianity and Christian teachings and Judaism. And their idea about a God that comes to heaven to impregnate a woman, a human woman, is Greek. It's from Greek mythology, and the Greeks were more realistic, like the most pluralists, and it was a half god in Greek mythology. So all the story is completely Greek, and it was founded in Greece, and it has nothing to do with Judaism. The whole teachings of Christianity are Greek and Roman. And so in Semitic languages, I said it already in one of my other videos, there is no neutral in the language. You have male and female, right? But the Jewish God is an abstract idea and doesn't have a body. You can only be male or female when you have a body. Even kiwis are male and female, or a mouse is male or female. That also goes against this transsexuals or intersexuals and whatever. No, you see that on the skeleton even, if somebody is male or female. Ask every archaeologist. You see that on the body if somebody is male or female, but you need a body. The Jewish God has no body. And that's why it's not male or female, and how it's also not made of female qualities. This is an abstract idea. This is, of course, more for intelligent people. So, And quite often they also claim that it comes from the story in Bereshit that man are superior, the idea that men are superior, but that doesn't come from Judaism. Judaism is a matriarchal, ethno-religious group and not a patriarchal group. When you see chauvinist forms of Judaism, that comes from the surrounding cultures, that infiltrated Judaism from surrounding cultures like Christianity, mainly Catholic or Russian Orthodox, or Islam. But it's not a Jewish idea. But they claim that the story in Bereshit, Genesis, proves that men and women were split. They claim that because they only know the translation, of course, and don't know Hebrew, and the translation in Greek, that's the only thing they know, and the translation in Latin, and later it came also translations to German or English or whatever. But they translated it as rib. I give you this story. It's in Bereshit 2:21. So, and the sentence is, I read it in English. Yeah. This also in this Jewish Torah I have here, it's also translated wrong, because the most Bible translators are not Hebraists. They are not scientists, and they also come from a weird tradition. So it's an American Bible, from an American publishing house and translation. So this is Bereshit 2:21. You can look it up yourself. But the word. I try to find it now. Wait a minute. The word mitzelotav means from his side and not from his ribs. And this reflects the story in Platon's Symposium. That was a general idea in antiquity, or early antiquity. We're talking about ideas BCE. So it's not generally Jewish. Also other cultures and religions had this idea. And in Platon's Symposium, worth reading, by the way, one of the philosophers who speaks, I forgot which one, but the one who speaks before Socrates, questions it, they talk about where does love come from? Where does love come from? I mean, when you read the Symposium, and they actually quite often talk where does a sexual desire come from and not love. But okay, so in the story in Bereshit reflects many ancient beliefs in the Mediterranean. For example, this earthling, Adam, is not male. Again, we don't have a neutral. Adam reflects the earth, and it's also written in Parashat that God formed, out of plastilene, formed a human. He formed an earthling out of earth. This reflects the ancient idea of the hierarchy of elements. So, earth is the lowest element, and fire is the highest element, like Lucifer, the highest of the angels. I spoke about this idea already. Oh no, I didn't speak about it. Why Lucifer became Satan in the service of God. So and you see also in this Bereshit story that the animals in nature, so the plants and water and all animals, wildlife and whatever, but also the stars and the sun and the oceans and the rivers, are not created out of earth. Only humans. And that should actually teach us to be humble. And this is, but obviously it didn't turn out that well, because when you have to understand, also for reading of for the studying of the Torah, you have to also understand what the words mean. And it's not enough to just check Torah commentaries. Sometimes you really have to study it. So the words, there is a meaning why it's written in the Torah that Hashem formed the human out of earth, and it's an earthling. Adam means earthling. It doesn't mean that he was male. There is still no male and female till Parashat 2:21. And then he puts this earthling in a deep sleep, like in a coma, and splits him. And this is exactly the story in Platon's Symposium. And so male and female already existed, but they were one body. So one side was male, facing in this direction, one side was female, facing in the other direction. And that's why they couldn't see each other and they couldn't talk to each other. And that's why they felt lonely. So in the Greek culture, the gods split the humans out of envy. Yeah, because they were united as one, they became too powerful in the Greek story. They became too powerful, and the gods said, we don't want it. We divide them, so they are not one. And then we are the powerful ones. But in the story in the Torah, God splits them out of pity, so that they can see each other and talk to each other. And that's also only with this. And actually, the funny thing is, in the story, Parashat 2:21 on, you see that first, the one when you wake up, first they talk about Isha, the woman, and then the rest that is the Ish, the man, and in Parashat 2:21, it also says, I read the English now. Hence a man leaves his father and mother and clings to his wife, so that they become one flesh. Yeah, so you don't become one soul, because it would be symbiosis. That's not healthy. And here they talk about a sexual union in the Torah. But you also see the Jewish concept is completely matriarchalic. In patriarchalic societies and marriage, the woman becomes the property actually of a man and belongs to the man's family. But in Judaism, the man leaves his family and clings to his wife. He becomes part of his wife's family. It's only in the kingdom of Israel and Judah the question to which tribe you belong politically was according to the father, but and not according to the mother. And then many also say Isha is just the word. Isha means woman, and it's just Ish with a he, with a feminine ending, right? That's not true. For that you have to study Hebrew linguistics. Isha has the aleph doesn't. My professor for Hebrew linguistics said it doesn't belong to the shoresh, but I sat in the library of the Hungarian Academy of Science in the Oriental on the Oriental section with dictionaries scientific dictionaries for biblical Hebrew. So I'm not quite sure that my professor was right. Because the word Isha, the plural is Nashim, the Nun belongs to the Shoresh. The Nun belongs to the root of the word. And this is not the case in Ish. The plural of Ish is Ishim. The plural of Isha is Nashim. The N is quite a weak consonant in many languages, also in European languages. So it comes from the base anthatu. It's aspirated T. Anthatu, like in Aramaic, what's the word? Antha. Yeah, the Beged Kefet system in Hebrew comes from Aramaic. There's an Aramaic influence. It's Antha. And in Old Syriac is Antha, also with two, and plural Nashe. So you see, this is related. The Nun belongs to the Shoresh, and it's not, and woman is the word also in itself, and also we don't, also spiritually don't come from man. We have a humanity, and there is a female version and a male version, like in the most animal kingdom, right? Yeah, the shoresh for ish is something else. It's really aleph yud shin. Yeah, the yud belongs to the shoresh. In the word isha, the yud doesn't belong to the shoresh. So this is what I wanted to say. It all debunks, of course. When you know things, you can debunk antisemitism or other prejudges. That's why Islam and those left-wing ideologies are against higher education and knowledge, because you can't infiltrate the minds and the hearts of people that know. You can only destroy people who don't know. But every human being has the possibility to get educated, and you can also educate yourself if you want to. And I talked the last time in the last parasha in Truma, I didn't talk about the kruvim, because I think it's actually not very interesting. If you want to know where it comes from, the kruvim, you can write to me. But in general, I don't want to talk about it. But I want to talk still something about in my Torah, the only one I have with me, it's edited by Günther Blaut, Union of American Hebrew Congregations. I think it's actually Reform. But okay, the text is the same. But it's written here something interesting. Aloneness, in turn, is man's primary helplessness. A woman is more than a man's female counterpart. The Talmud says he is called man only if he has a wife. The reason for a Jewish marriage is not, and that also contradicts Christianity and Islam, is not procreation. You don't have to have children. That's not the reason for marriage. By the way, that's also the reason why homosexual marriage is allowed in Judaism. Because the reason the Talmud gives for marriage is so that a man shouldn't be alone. Because we are social animals. And right, the reason for marriage in Judaism is that you're not alone, and that you have all these ethical parts of marriage, to a shalom bayit, and the husband actually serves his wife. and his family, and not the other way around. So now we talk about certain aspects of the parasha called Tetzave. The parashat talks mainly about the priestly garments. Yes, some parashat is a bit trying because, to get something out of it is sometimes not so easy. But I tried. And this parasha also emphasizes the importance of priesthood in Judaism. Or actually in Am Yisrael. Nowadays there is actually no importance of priesthood of the Kohanim in Judaism. But what's important, of course, still is when we talk about priests, is that in other parts of the Torah, Hashem orders us not to be only holy people and a light to the nations, or Hagoyim. But also, they don't want light. They want to sit in darkness and hollow to the moon and believe in ghosts and monsters like in medieval times. But that's not our problem. It is our problem. They don't want to be enlightened. And I talk about enlightenment later, because there you see also the connection to how close Judaism is to Buddhism. Not in appearance, but in the ethics and the philosophy. But the importance of priesthood, that we should be a people of priests to teach ethics and ethical way of life to all the nations in the world, is still valid, though it's obviously hard. It's not that easy with the people we have around us, and the most people don't want to be good. I talked about that in the last parasha, and also in my last political video. So, but let's talk about the Nerot. So this is a general instructions to all the people, to enkindle la ma'or on an everyday basis, lights. That was also then later the menorah in front of the temple. So, and this is not the ner tamid you have in synagogues nowadays. This is a later tradition. It's a ner tamid that hangs in front of the aron. This is a later tradition. This is not meant here. Here is meant you have to kindle that in the evening till the morning. It should burn from evening to morning. This is not the ner tamid. And the menorah that was taken to Rome and after the destruction of the Second Temple. What they did with it is a good question. I actually don't know. But you see it's pictured in this ark they built in Rome. You have to go to Rome. Have also. I was thinking about the Italian word cacioffi ebraico, Jewish artichokes. It's a Jewish tradition from Rome, and it's amazing, by the way. And but there you can see this ark the Romans built that pictures the menorah, that they stole the menorah, and they took the upper class as of the revolt, also the leaders of the revolt against the Romans, into captivity and then into slavery, sold them as slaves in the Roman Empire. And by the way, the Jewish historian Flavius Josephus was one of the commanders of of the revolt against the Romans. And why did it happen? You should read about the story of Shlom Zion. Shlom Zion was a queen for 9 years, and her husband, I forgot his name, was a terrible king of Judah, actually the last king of Judah. The last king of Judah, and he was brutal, executed mass of people. The country was in complete disarray, and when he finally died, he appointed his wife as his successor, and she was the first queen of Judah, and she pacified the whole country and built up the country. And she only reigned 9 years because she was quite old when she became queen, and so she was a good queen. Shlom Zion is her name, Salome Alexander in Latin tradition. But before she died, she appointed her oldest son as her successor, and then she died, and the younger son didn't accept it, and then there was a civil war, and then the Romans sensed their chance and occupied Judah and called it Palestine. I mean, they didn't call it Palestine from the start, but only because they also tried to forbid Judaism, and then there was an uprising again, and then the destruction of the temple, and then they called it Palestine as a punishment. And now we end. That's so the Romans were the cause of the problems we have now. I mean, not only because they didn't invent Islam, of course, and Islamic terrorism. So Palestinians are Muslims from all over the Islamic world, and they are not native there, but they were invented by the Arab League 1960 to eliminate Israel. Okay, good. And so everyone who is pro-Palestinian and says there is the Israeli occupation is pro-terrorism, and is pro-genocide. Exactly. So what I want to talk about it's about. They also talk about atoning this Aaron and his sons. So what does the Shoresh Mashiach Mem Shin Chet means to atone with all? Atoned. Stupid English is stupid. But this was a common practice, by the way. It's not only a Jewish practice. It was a common practice in antiquity that kings and priests were atoned. Also in ancient Rome, by the way. Yeah, I looked it up. And in Israel, usually olive oil was used. Actually, always. In Babylonia, also sesame oil and animal fat. And in ancient, almond oil and animal fat. So Mashiach means that somebody is inducted into office as a priest or a king. So that also debunks the whole Christian nonsense with this Messiah. A Mashiach is not a savior. Yeah? Sent by God. This is not a Mashiach. A Mashiach is somebody who was inducted into office as a king or as a priest, and this was just a general practice in the Middle East and also in Rome. And a Mashiach means when there are Jews who believe in coming of the Mashiach, or there is a messianic time, the times of the Mashiach, that doesn't mean a person. That means the independence. We are not suppressed anymore by others, but mainly Muslims and Christians. And this means the hope of a messianic time. This also has a spiritual meaning that all humans live in harmony together, but also that that humanity live in harmony again with nature, and that everybody recognize Hashem as God. That doesn't mean that that everybody converts to Judaism. It doesn't mean that at all, but at least to recognize certain ethical principles to be a good person. That does it mean. And we are far away from that, of course. And look at the world; it's a complete disaster. But this is actually the meaning of Mashiach. And now we can also talk about the Urim and Tumim. This is a bit of magic, but I like magic, and you shouldn't forget that a magical way of thinking, a magical mindset was normal till in the world, till the Industrial Revolution. Also Aristotle or Plato had that. This is nothing, or Maimonides, this is nothing, or this is not a sign that somebody is stupid. There is more to the world than what we see. And many people believe in natural science as if it's a religion, and it's just but in fact, it's natural science or medicine, this inorganic medicine, this is a religion, it's a belief system, and not based on facts. Yeah, think about it. But the Urim and the Tumim is something that's based weird, right? And it's also put on the Choshen Mishpat. Choshen Mishpat was a press piece of decision or judgment. Yeah, Choshen Mishpat means, it means, Mishpat means judgment or decision. And it was a pressed piece that was part of the priestly garment. And that was used, so these Umim and Tumim were put on it. And this was used as an oracle to predict the outcome of wars. You see that also all over the Tanakh, that also the kings always ask in the beginning of the kingship in Israel. It always asked the priests if they should go to war or not, and what will come out of it. That was also a common practice all over the world. It was, for example, in a Germanic, and Germanic people also did that. So the king who wanted to or needed to go to war also asked the seers, and the seers went into a trance and then predicted the outcome of a war, or warned if that was not a good idea. Exactly. So this is nothing special. But what does it mean, and why do we read it today? What has it to do with us? We don't have Urim and Tumim anymore. What can we nowadays learn from that? Because it's not we don't know how these things actually looked like, and we also in fact don't know really how the temple looked like. I attended once a whole semester of a seminary called Temple Concepts in the Tanakh. with none of these concepts, you could have the measurements given in the Tanakh, you could build anything. You can't build anything with it. These are allegoric numbers given, and not instructions by an architect. You see, so actually we don't know things. We know a lot, but not everything. Yeah, not enough to build a temple. And as I said in the last video, the temple cult is not part of rabbinical Judaism. Yeah, and Ur doesn't come from Or. I contradict here now the dictionary I used, because they claim Ur comes from Or, but it doesn't make sense. Otherwise, it would be Orim and not Urim. So it means complete clarity. Ur means complete clarity. And for me, it looks like the inner passive of the Shoresh Aleph Baf Resh. And this Shoresh means that would mean in an inner passive. You have sometimes words that there are secondary nouns that derive from verbal forms that didn't exist in biblical times. So that means as a scientist you have to figure that out. So now there is no, when you look in a dictionary for biblical Hebrew, you won't find the inner passive of the Shoresh Or, and you won't find the inner or Hufal of for this Shoresh, only a Hifil and a Nifal and a Kal. And but that would mean to be illuminated and to be enlightened. So that means actually Urim is as when you Urim would mean to be enlightened. So it is actually like the crystal balls, in Harry Potter. So you have when you are when you are clouded with your inner ego and the kleshas, the Buddhists call it kleshas, with all your mental afflictions, ideology and mental problems and fears and whatever everyone has, then you don't see clear, you can't be enlightened. This is, for example, also what Buddha means. It means the enlightened one. Yeah? And this is the path of the Buddha Dharma means exactly the same like that you should follow the halakha. Buddha Dharma is the path to get enlightened with meditation and good deeds, and they also have nearly the same amount of good deeds, of a kind of halakha. And the halakha, the meaning of the halakha is also to teach you an enlightened, teach you an ethical way of life to become a human of God, a godly person. Actually, the halakha doesn't lead you away from yourself, it leads you to yourself. Because, like I said in the last parasha, we have a godly self, we just forget it all the time. Tshuva means you come back to your godly self. And this is connected to enlightenment. It also is connected, of course, when you are clouded, and we see that also in our world, this left-wing ideologies, antisemitism, sexism, the Muslims is all full of ideology they can't see. Seeing means in all traditions that you see the truth and that you are an enlightened person. So, but what does Tumim mean? Tumim comes from Tom, Tav Mem, and that means something quite nice. It's connected, of course, to what it means: wholeness, perfection, or purity of heart. And so you don't need a device for to see the truth. You just need a purity of heart and enlightenment of your mind. But I couldn't find it right now. But you see, in Pirkei Avot, you have a discussion. Yeah, and I forgot the names of the rabbis. But the rabbi asked his students, what is the most important thing for a human being? And everyone says something else, and one rabbi says a good heart. But in a good heart, a lot of people nowadays think it's that you have a heart. It means that you are lovely to everybody, and But a heart in antiquity was the seed of intelligence and of the mind, not the brain. So what he actually says, a good mind, and yes. So sometimes you have to understand this. A good mind is a mind that is free of ideologies, hatred, and actually, as you can see through emotions, you shouldn't have no emotions, because then you have no empathy and you can't love. But you shouldn't be clouded. You should be aware of your emotions, and this is usually, women are more aware of their emotions than men are aware of their emotions. And so this is what I wanted to say about the parasha, Tetzave. So Trumim and Umim is something you can have yourself, you can develop it yourself. You don't need a crystal ball. Yeah, and you have to, by the way, this is also connected to Kabbalistic traditions. I'm also specialized in Kabbalah. That's why I usually stay away from all this pseudo esoteric quack, because this has nothing to do with Kabbalah. Yeah, Kabbalah, like all magical traditions, something was always just taught to certain specific people that were capable of dealing with it in the right way. It's nothing you just have fun with, or there's also, you see this esoteric bookshops, the Kabbalah of money, become rich with Kabbalah, or this nonsense. Yeah, this is also Christian Kabbalah, complete nonsense. This is not what Kabbalah means. And the clarity is also, it's actually enlightenment. This is the Messianic time. The Messianic time is enlightenment, actually, and you can reach it in yourself. You have to, if you want to save the world, you have to save yourself first. If you want to love somebody, you have to love yourself first. If you want to respect somebody, you need to respect yourself first. And but this is, you can be your own Umim and Tumim. That's what I wanted to say. And I hope for the next parasha I also find something. But I wanted to say that this actually, there's a saying in Kabbalistic traditions that when you recognize through the Kabbalistic method Hashem, which one never does, but never mind, then you don't need to. That keeping the halacha is pointless. That doesn't mean that people who, if there's ever somebody who reaches this level, doesn't mean he becomes a bad person and doesn't keep halacha anymore. It just means that you do it naturally because you understand this is the right way to live. It doesn't mean that people don't keep halacha. But I've never read of any Kabbalist who reached this level. Yeah. So Shabbat Shalom, and be your own Umim and Tumim. Umim and Tumim. This is possible, but it's not possible when you focus on things outside that are actually not necessary and not important. Like becoming successful or becoming a billionaire. I mean, it's not bad to be a billionaire, but it's not a goal in life, and it's for sure is another value. Shabbat Shalom.